Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we've seen our 2,000-point drop in the stock market today. The first one. I'm expecting two. I'm going to tell you something. I think the stock market is going to bounce a little bit. And I think it very well could bounce back a little bit. Now, I'm going to tell you why. Is the way they're talking right now. The talking heads out there, They're saying that the virus is probably going to peak in about 2 weeks. And they're basing this on mostly on China. What happened in China? They're really, I mean, this has been, for the longest time, I called it the Teflon market, And right now, they see what happened in China. They seen the virus kind of went big time and kind of grew and everything to a certain point. And then they saw that it leveled off and the cases dropped back, And they're thinking to themselves, hey, also they're seeing the cases start to level off in South Korea a little bit too, And they're thinking to themselves, hey, the same thing will happen in America. It'll keep going they think it'll keep going for the next 2 weeks because that's about how long it went in Korea, South Korea and China. And they're basing this on South Korea and China that they're thinking in about 2 weeks it'll peak. And it'll start to level off and the markets will go back to normal. In fact, there'll be a big boom in the markets, they're thinking to themselves. And boy, look at these prices for stocks right now with real good buys out there and everything else. They're right on, But they're basing these assumptions on data that's coming from countries in Asia, thinking that the exact same thing's going to happen here in America. And they're also thinking that same assertion that the president made, that the virus is going to disappear once warmer weather comes, they're making that assumption too. Okay? But, I mean, okay, let's think about the facts a little bit. Let's think about what really happened in China. How did China and do they really have this virus under control in China? Or did they just quit counting? Or did they just run out of test kits? Or decide not to test? We don't know what's really going on over in China. We can only go by the numbers they're giving us. These numbers that are coming out of China right now are giving people a feeling of... And what about the hotter weather? Will the virus disappear in hotter weather? Well, we look down at South America right now. It's hot down there right now. And the virus is starting to spread in places like Brazil and places like Colombia and places like that where it's really hot. Doesn't seem to be stopping it very much. There's a lot of places in the world that are hot right now and the virus is spreading in them. So that's an assumption that's really going out on the limb to think that this thing is going to disappear when the warmer weather comes. That's a big assumption to make. And I consider it a second big assumption to make, that we're going to be able to deal with the virus the same way that China dealt with it. That's a huge assumption. Because do you understand the people out there really realize what China actually did? They quite literally locked every resident in their home and wouldn't let them outside to transmit the virus, thereby breaking the chain of transmission. Do you really seriously believe that we could enforce a policy like that in the United States of America and here in Canada? I would say that's a pretty big assumption. And we travel a lot more. And we like our freedom to be able to move out of our house, I mean, in China, if a person stepped outdoors of their house into the street, there'd be a policeman there to arrest them. In fact, I've seen videos of the Chinese were actually going inside people's houses and taking them out of their house and putting them in these quarantine facilities and stuff. And I think this was widespread. It actually happened during the virus as part of their methods of curtailing the spread of this virus. These policies, basically, in a free country, a person's house is considered their home and their castle, and without a warrant or a court order or whatever, I mean, in China, they can just do that. They can just go into the house and drag everybody out, and throw them into a facility of whatever. And they built these facilities really fast. You remember in China, 10 days, they built these so-called hospitals, But they were kind of like in between a detainment facility and a hospital. And, this is part of the ways China dealt with this, was with an extreme heavy hand. Could we do things like that in the West? This is making an assumption. The markets are making an assumption that we can follow the same measures that China took and curtail this virus. Well, the virus is seated here now. So we will see what's going to happen. We will see if we are as successful as the Chinese. But the markets are already getting ready to price that in, that we will be as successful as the Chinese at curtailing this. I would say that's a pretty darn big assumption. The markets are also going to make the assumption in the next day or two that this virus is going to peak in 2 weeks. That's a huge assumption. Because I'm thinking, in my head, will it peak in the next 2 weeks? Or will it just keep growing exponentially? That's a question I'm asking. And I'm thinking it would be an awful big assumption to make right now that this is going to peak in the next 2 weeks, and that's going to be the end of it. It's going to disappear. And then they keep talking about it's going to resurge next fall when winter season starts. Where are they getting this information that this virus is seasonal? This is a novel virus, and I can't find any information that this is a seasonal virus. I don't see any information that I should make the assumption that this is a seasonal virus. I do see information out there that this virus works on a principle of exponential growth, and this has everything to do with its R-naught factor. I see very many varying reports on what the R-naught factor is. Some are really high and some are really low, and it's such a wide range of estimates that it's hard to put your finger on exactly what the R-naught value is. So I have to assess it by facts that I receive about it. Like facts like the people on the cruise ships, how quickly it spread amongst the cruise ships when those people were told to go to their staterooms or told to go to their rooms, and still they caught it. I mean, this thing is very contagious. I don't think anybody out there is going to contest that. Extremely contagious. Now it's loose in the United States. Is it really seasonal? Well, just because there's no facts that it is seasonal, there's also no facts that it really isn't seasonal. So they're making that statement that they believe it's seasonal. I don't see any data to really support it. But on the other hand, there's no data out there to say it's not. But that's an assumption that they're making. And I'd say that they're going out pretty far on a limb. Because I think ultimately, that what they'd really like to do is come right back in and buy up this market. Because it's down. You know what I mean? And so they're going to go with what sounds good to them. And I'm a skeptic here. And I'm sitting back and I'm saying to myself, hey, you know what? Let's wait and see what really does happen in the next 2 weeks and after that. You know, with this, before we go jumping for joy saying, hey, you know, we got this under control. Wait until it's really under control. You know, that's my motto on all of this. But at any rate, I think we're going to see the markets maybe bounce a little bit on this news that they're believing, that is really based on a lot of assumptions. And you know, I mean, we've saw the big 2,000 point drop that I predicted. I'm expecting one more at least, you know, and a bunch of other drops, you know. But I think my personal opinion on all of this is that I think this thing's going to continue to expand, and I don't think we're China. I think we're going to get, we're going to have a lot bigger problem than the Chinese had with it, because we're not able to do things that the Chinese are able to do. It's as simple as that, you know. And we got a demographic here in North America that's different entirely than China's demographic. China has roughly about 9% of their population as seniors. We're nearly double that, what they have in China. You know, we got 42 million people over the age of 65 in the United States of America. 42 million. And they're on Medicare. The thing is this virus doesn't care about anything. It only cares about progression. What I see with this virus is I see something that can burn itself out very easily if the chain of transmission is broken for more than 45 days. That's what I see. I see something that burns really hot. It really moves fast. It moves scary fast. But on the other side of that coin, what I see is something that can burn itself out just as fast. That's what I see. You know? Listen, thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. We'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.